Hi folks, this is a test. We're going to see how good the microphone is picking up. Also going to see how good the video quality is going to be with the little webcam that I've got here. Um, should be picking up stuff pretty good. I don't know exactly how my lighting's going to work here. I've got it as best as I can get it. But we're going to work along with this and see what we can do. Hi folks, this is Cal Vandor. Welcome to the Workbench. Today I just wanted to put together a couple of little short tips for those folks who are doing leather work and plan on doing some hand stitching. This is just some tips and tricks that I've picked up over the years of doing all of this, and I thought I'd pass it along as I don't normally see these kinds of things mentioned on most of the other channels. Let's see, where to start. First off, let's start with these. Most of the folks are going to end up getting needles either through Tandy, Weaver Leather Supply, and I'm not endorsed by any of these folks. I know that I've gotten them from various places. And for the most part, they're going to be nice, sturdy, blunt-tipped, small-eyed. And if you're doing a lot of hand stitching, the best threads that I can recommend are going to be either the Ritza 25, which is also known as tiger thread. This is a flat braided polyester thread. Very strong, pre-waxed, so this thing feels like it's been dunked in beeswax on its way to being rolled up. Good heavy wax content on those, and you kind of want that. The other popular thing that folks have been doing, and that I've used for a long number of years before I started using the Ritza, is flax shoe thread. You get this stuff in 1 pound spools. It'll come in various sizes by the number of cords that make up the thread. This stuff happens to be 4 cord. When you're dealing with this stuff, easiest way to get a hold of this really is see if you can find a shoe repair or cobbler's shop local to you, and stop in and see if they're willing to sell you a spool. It's going to be a little expensive. They usually run anywhere from $50 to $60, but one spool, I've had this one for 15 years now, so one spool will last you practically a lifetime, and the stuff holds up great. With this, you're going to have to wax it yourself. So when you cut a length out, you're going to have to run it across a daub of beeswax. Best thing I could recommend there. Needles. Here's a tip that I've picked up for a while. After you've used your needles for a little while, they're going to get tarnished. Just the repeated runs through vegetable tan or chrome tan leather is going to start eating at the surface finish. The oils and acids from your fingertips as you're using them are going to eat at the surface finish, and they're just going to end up starting to feel not as smooth as they used to. A tip to take care of that: get yourself a small pad of leather, like just a small scrap, a 2 or 3 ounce. Rub some stropping compound on the outside and just give them a strop. Run them through, and you can end up polishing a lot of that tarnish and a lot of that surface contamination off of there. And it isn't going to bring them back to chrome shiny like they used to be, but it'll bring them back to being smooth like they used to be, and it'll be a lot easier for actually you to get a grip on, and a lot nicer for them to run through your stitching holes. Make sure you get all the way up to the eye on those. Whoop. And yes, they're going to be a little bit difficult to deal with, but that's fine. And just give them a feel after you've run them across a little while. Make sure that they're smooth, slick. They might look a little dark, but that's just the surface tension that you're not going to get through, and you've probably gone through the chroming at that point anyway. They're going to work fine. If you're dealing with Ritza thread, most folks, this stuff will come in either 1 pound spools, or it will come in 25 yard Some folks will put them on wooden spools when they sell them. Some folks won't, but they'll come on 25-yard lengths like this. Um, it's the same stuff. If you're doing smaller projects and not going through a lot of thread at a time, the 25-yard spools will probably do you better. If you know you're going to be doing long lengths of stitching and be going through thread relatively quickly, you might want to go ahead and pick yourself up a full spool. When you're dealing with the Ritza thread, the first thing you'll want to know is it's a lot easier if when you're cutting your lengths, cut them at an angle. This stuff is a flat braid, and cutting them at an angle will give it somewhat of a tapered tip. I don't know if you can see that on the camera. But when you're trying to thread a needle with that, the tapered tip will make it a lot easier for you to be able to hit that hole and go through. Now, some folks will tell you to just pull through and let it go and deal with the length as it is. Some folks will tell you to lock the thread, and there's two ways to do this. The way I do this is I'll run the thread up about 8 mil, give myself a length of needle, and then make the needle pierce right along that length and go through the thread. Run it back along the length of the needle and pull this the rest of the way through. Till it hits right about here. Take the long length of the thread and just pull it across. Now that's going to lock that thread onto the needle, give yourself about 2 inches worth of tail, and that should be enough to keep it locked on there through any kind of stitching that you do. It's not going to pull out. You can always tug on the tail. Now the reason I do them this way, and the reason I say this is the way I do them. The other way you can do this is once you thread it, and with the tiger thread, if you're having a little trouble, just kind of pinch it flat, is they will show you to take this up this direction and then pierce this way and run it down. Now that lets you have that as a tail, and you can pull this back across before you lock it, and that locks your thread on fine. Now there's a reason that I don't lock them this way, and this is it. While you're stitching, invariably at some point you're gonna pierce a thread as you're going through. And on the other side, you'll discover as you're trying to pull it that you've pierced the thread in one of your stitches. I run mine this way so that if that happens, I can take another needle, pull the lock out, unthread this, pull this back through, and unpierce my thread, and then when I have it back on the other side, I can rethread it. And yes, sometimes if you catch it wrong, it'll... But I can rethread and relock my stitch down the way I had it, and then try that stitch again, and I'm back to having my lock thread. With this lock, I'm not able to do that, because if I have to undo, the piercing's on the tail side and it's not going to want to come loose. You'd have to run the needle back up through your piercing to undo it, and that just makes it more of a pain in the neck to have to deal with if you've ever pierced a thread. And I've pierced many of them. So you would have to end up undoing your lock this direction, take your thread off, and then having to put it on there and relock it that direction again. I just find that's more of an inconvenience for me if I'm running a long length, like along a belt or a sword scabbard. So just something to keep in mind. Both of them are going to keep your threads locked. I just find that piercing them this way allows me to unlock it while I still have it in there, and then relock it later after I've back threaded it for whatever reason that I need to. Just something to keep in mind. And the same thing goes for if you're using the flax thread as well. Beyond that, just a couple of tips that I thought I'd pass along. I'm going to try and get more of these videos out as I run across things and run across projects, and hopefully we'll be able to entice more people into the craft. Thanks for watching, and if you like everything that you see, give me a thumbs up, give me a like. I'm not going to ask to subscribe because I don't know how many of these are going to be out here, but I'll get as many in as I can. Thanks for watching.